signals that they do not want to blind pick it early, and they do not want to have to craft a composition against it, so they're kind of fearful that something like would have just happened to TSM would happen, where you pick Kog'Maw first and then the other team manages to find ways to kill it. But then they also first pick a Nidalee, with Gragas still being up, which is most likely for Xmithie, but it's not something he has played all season.
Yeah, I don't know. CLG just happy to play with the Runic Echoes Nidalee jungle. I actually looked at the European pick bans from this week as well, which I believe was the first professional league on 6-3.
Correct.
Nidalee was 100% pick ban, Alistar 100% pick ban as well, and then the final one was Kalista.
Kalista
even
was
Kog'Maw
the most
got
banned
through.
champion.
Yeah, even Kog'Maw had gotten through one of those games unpicked as well. So CLG picking the one of the few 100% pick bans left up. TAP, of course, happy to keep the Gangplank and Alistar. So, I mean, following trends at least.
For sure, and it is somewhat of a denial pick that's been picked 3 times by Team Impulse. Surprising, though, I was really looking forward to see Xmithie play Gragas here. It was his main champion in the summer split, and now it was back in meta, but looks like they're going with more of a poke comp here. Yeah,
right now they got a big protective support here, can be in the front line with Aphromoo. This Corki, of course, a flex pick here on the blue side. Despite some pretty significant nerfs to Phosphorus Bomb and fairly minor ones to his ultimate cooldown, or recharge rate, I should say, Corki still maintaining his spot as a somewhat frequently seen pick. And look at this TIP, actually are going to go for a Nocturne. Ooh, and the thing is, I've actually seen Duskblade Nocturne, if this is a thing, can pretty much one-shot people. Warrior Duskblade is pretty scary.
Because the ultimate and the Q can get them so low already, so you get a lot of the use of the passive on the Duskblade from that. And it could potentially work with the Gangplank. One of my big knocks on Nocturne in the past was that he needs a buddy to go with him. Dive buddy, so to speak. So when he is hitting someone, they need to choose to focus one of the 2 like really squishily built people that are trying to kill you, and if Nocturne goes in alone, he just dies. But with the Gangplank ultimate, it might be enough damage on top of wherever he wants to go that he can guarantee that one-shot on the squishy target. And yeah, this will be only, I think, the 2nd Nocturne I've seen so far this year in pro play.
Yeah, we saw one, I think, last night in Korea, if I remember properly.
Was it last night? I remember about a week ago.
I want to say I saw one.
If there's one last night, that would be the 3rd. I may have missed it.
I actually might have just, like, hallucinated.
The Rocks Tigers played a Nocturne composition, actually, against a Nidalee. The Nidalee out-farmed heavily in the early game, but then the Nocturne, along with Kennen, was able to make some nice dive buddy plays and close in some team fights in the end game.
And what's cool is, of course, this will penetrate the Braum shield very easily. And outside of Nocturne talk, of course, we see CLG picking up their last few champions. Another LeBlanc for Huhi. I think one of his best performing champions this year on CLG for sure. His LeBlanc is great. And Poppy, despite also a couple of nerfs on her to her Q damage and her R knockup duration, Poppy's still coming through to Darshan in that top lane.
Yeah, the fact that Poppy fell this far in a draft, thinking, I wonder what has really changed, because even globally, Poppy is still the most picked champion in the top lane, but as you mentioned, some small tweaks against her in the 6.3 patch, and only the European and NALCS, as far as the major regions, are on the 6.3 patch this week.
Last pick comes through is LIssandra, by the way, so more all-in tools. Look at that. Gangplank can land the ultimate, Nocturne can land the ultimate. LIssandra just is known for diving, as is Alistar. And Match will just kite around as Lucian. Looks like a very aggressive team by Impulse.
Yeah, there's your dive buddy for Nocturne against LIssandra, or also a good pick against the LeBlanc, for sure.
Yeah. So very interesting, a very aggressive team by Team Impulse diving, and there are some peel tools if you just want to say, hey, Gangplank and Lucian carry us. LIssandra can play a more defensive role. Alistar, of course, can as well. Meanwhile, CLG just playing things that they know are good. You look at these 5 champions, and every single one of these you expect to see very frequently in pro play, and much unlike the TSM game, they're just kind of just grabbing those power picks.
Yeah. The only thing to me that is strange here is how CLG is playing a lot of champions that they haven't played before in the LCS. So I said before that I thought CLG was kind of going to go back to what is working. That's not what they're doing. Even though they are doing a lot of power picks, they're straying away from what they haven't
It's typical for them.
Typical for them and doing stuff they haven't played before this split.
Okay, well, another sort of new champs, like I guess, for CLG here for the 2nd game in a row, the previous one being TSM. We'll see if it works out. You guys at home, let us know if it is. Tweet at eSports with hashtag CLGwin or hashtag TIPwin for which team it's going to be. The Jungle Nocturne for Procxin, one of the new unique things to watch for in this game. We'll see if it pays off for Team Impulse as they look to climb up into playoff position. Here we go into game 4.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of crazy the fact that we are on our 11th game of the split for each team, and CLG has 3 players on champions that they have yet to play this split. Darshan hasn't played Poppy, Xmithie hasn't played Nidalee, and Stixxay actually hasn't played Corki because they put it mid lane every time they've drafted it. So it's going to be a bit of a new experience for CLG in here, and we'll see how they can pick up on things against Team Impulse, who's looking to make a surge in the standings.
CLG doing a little bit of a tricky level 1, hoping to catch someone going for a deep ward invade. That won't happen, and a defensive trinket from Gate keeps TIP safe. They're spotting this slightly delayed invade by Counter Logic Gaming. And as CLG bully their way through this right side jungle, they put down the trinkets they need, which is mirrored by TIP's Feng up in the top side, who put one down over the Gromp. So Impulse will know which side of the jungle CLG starts on, and CLG will know where the duo lane is headed with those deep wards.
Very critical lane swap scouting. Gate also looking for a pretty late recall, but
Minions have spawned.
Should be all right. He's canceling it out, so they'll just know where Mash is. Gate could still technically be doing some type of late jungle invade. But yeah, it looks like we're just going to be seeing the top lane jungler do a camp, bottom lane probably do a camp as well.
And we'll see as the camp spawn up. Yep, Feng and Procxin going to be undisturbed on this side of the map. The Krugs will die. Procxin making sure to land the Q across both of the Krugs and make sure his passive hits them both as well. Just standard, basic playing Nocturne proper mechanics there. Worth noting that Feng, I believe, did start Parlay and not Barrels. Barrels are actually much faster at clearing the jungle out. But this will allow Feng to get slightly extra gold by parlaying small bits of the camps.
That 4 gold, though,
yeah,
he's able to pick up from the small red.
I am personally not a fan.
No, I think he definitely should have started Barrels. But at the same time, he's also going to be level 1 for a while. Because they didn't do a full share of XP, and now they're going to run into Aphromoo and Darshan.
Ooh, interesting. Jungle and top versus top in support, and it's going to push TIP out of the jungle, but only after Impulse managed to take 2 camps for themselves. Of course, looks like Xmithie was able to do the same thing, grabbing red buff and Raptors for himself on the bot side. So all said and done, fairly equal jungle trades, and these top laners will be able to rejoin their AD carries for turret pushes later on.
Yeah, from the looks of it, too, it looks like Xmithie is going to be ahead in experience early. He didn't get pushed off a camp, so he saved some time, and he's going to be able to cycle full all the way to the Scuttle Crab, but then he's going to have to recall most likely based on the respawn times of the camp. So I really want to see how CLG continue this lane swap, or if Xmithie just does a quick recall to kind of do the reswap that we've been seeing a lot of.
Right. We'll see what happens. Blue buff being taken down right now, 3 minutes in. That's about the time for the top laners to rejoin their AD carries and supports, and in fact, both these teams have done that. Xmithie 13 CS to the 7 of the Nocturne of Procxin. As you mentioned, there's the Scuttle Crab kill, and we'll see what happens next. Both of these outer turrets should be dropping in the very near future, and if you watch for how the waves are bounced. As far as... Ooh, I really like this. Okay, so I've been wondering for a while when supports are going to start going Strength of Ages. The stats on it are so incredibly high, but it's very often hard to be in lanes. As support, you need to go around it. You need to roam, you need to ward, and sometimes you can't be there for the kill on cannon minions. But Aphromoo is the first support I've seen in pro play go Strength of Ages instead of Bond of Stone. I think it's very good.
I don't remember the last time we've seen it, but I have seen it before.
You have, okay.
But you like you say, it is very rare, and it'll be a little bit snowbally. You get 2 stacks per cannon that you can hit, and the gold value is absolutely massive for him. So that makes it worth it. It'll create a higher need for Aphromoo to drive by lanes with the cannon minion, because I think a lot of reasons pro supports don't take it is because it kind of creates this unnatural need to go to a lane. Much like when you're in solo, you have Face the Mountain, you're like, I got 4 stacks, I have to go down to this lane. But that actually becomes the wrong move, and then you feel like you're missing out on that. This will just kind of exacerbate that issue, where now maybe it's actually the right play, even if without the item it would be the suboptimal play.
Of course.
I really want to track where Aphromoo goes to pick up those Strength of Ages stacks.
Yep. And if he double jungles, just being around, doesn't even have to leech XP or gold. Just if he's around Xmithie when something goes down, he'll get the 10 health from those when the jungle camps fall off. So something to watch for. Otherwise, pretty much default stuff for everybody here. Fervor on champions that aren't Corki, AD carries that aren't Corki, Thunderlords on all the other mages and whatnot. Huhi and Pirean doing battle in the mid lane, and Pirean right now on a small lead, though these minions will be answered back, and Huhi will be actually slightly ahead in this laning phase. So far, props to the CLG mid laner. And look at this, actually building a freeze. This will hurt Pirean quite a lot, as Pirean recalls to buy just a blasting wand here.
Yeah.
If he doesn't TP, he's going to lose a wave and a half at least.
Really strong freeze there by Huhi. It looked like it was so close to those minions getting aggroed by the turret, but he just held it. That one,
yeah, but he lost
it.
But
he still gets the last hit, so Huhi doing a pretty strong freeze here. Pirean It'll be also interesting to see how he itemizes and plays farther in the late game, because he had a LIssandra game against GBM's LeBlanc a couple weeks back, and GBM went off in that game. In fact, there was a really climactic moment in the game where Pirean was going to kind of E over the Baron wall to go just wreak havoc on the Baron pit, and he got one-shot by LeBlanc.
Yep.
Because he couldn't reaction to LeBlanc bursting him, and he didn't actually build many defensive stats. From the looks of it, he's not starting super defensively, right? I'm hoping to see like a Roa and a Negatron cloak by the end of this game, so he can actually deal with the pretty much all magic damage team. Like that's a necessary build on the side of Pirean, but starts with the blasting one, so he can still go in pretty much any direction. Yeah,
you're right. It's worth pointing out. I hadn't really thought of it, but you're right. CLG, a very, very magic damage heavy team. Only Darshan's Poppy is going to do meaningful physical damage, and even that won't be very much. So I want to see if Impulse realize that they should itemize properly with that in mind. Rift Herald going to quickly go down here on the top side, as the teams have otherwise just traded outer turrets. The lane swap happened, then they swapped the exact mirror. The outer turrets fell down to the other sides of the map, and Impulse getting a small global objective lead for themselves. You can see the 300 gold lead because exclusively of Rift Herald's money right now is what Impulse are winning with.
Yep, and this is, I'd like to say it's actually favoring the Nocturne. Nidalee's early ganks and early pressure are far greater than Nocturne pre-6. And then at level 6, the difference between a Nocturne ultimate and Nidalee being able to put a point into a Kruger form is, I think, very advantageous to the Nocturne. He's behind in CS because he is a slower jungler, but when he's 6, the types of ganks they can set up with a LIssandra or an Alistar.
Absolutely. And that might be why he went Blasting Wand first on Pirean's LIssandra here, to help have that damage. And to keep track, Procxin is only about 100 gold behind the Nidalee right now in the farming race, which isn't bad considering Feng took some of his camps in the early double jungle. So, so far so good, as you're mentioning, Nocturne having an okay early game despite being slightly behind. It's kind of expected here. And now the battle for the red buff, Procxin and Feng around with this pink ward are trying to defend this. Nice spell shield on reflex to dodge the javelin.
Yeah, and this is typically where CLG wants to make a big play as well. They usually pull ahead by lane swapping and beating to the spot. With the gold even right now, they do beat him to the spot, and smartly Team Impulse doesn't take this fight, so CLG can't really snowball a big advantage off.
But the question is, does Impulse have the ability to take that bottom side red buff? Because CLG, right, they went to the spot of their AD carry. They went for that invade, and of course it was smart. They pushed everyone away. But TIP just haven't been jungling because of that, right? They've got to run all the way across the map now.
And they have a Rift Herald that Darshan can't push away. So Mash picked up that Rift Herald. This actually gives the advantage to Tip on this push. So even though CLG beat them to the spot, the Rift Herald equalizes that. And it's going to make this turret trade quite easy.
Ooh, the flash pulverized. Of course, he couldn't headbutt because of the W, so Darshan is running away but exhausted, and Fear gives up first blood, defending a turret 1 versus 3. It's still a turret trade, but Impulse are ahead.
Partially the difference right there of the Nocturne ultimate, but this push will continue. CLG forcing Team Impulse back by threatening that second turret. I don't think we're seeing an inhibitor turret trading here, though.
No, we're not seeing the inhibitor turrets be traded. Gangplank and a heralded buff Lucian could have gotten some damage, but CLG will back off the trade and farm fairly close to equal. The kill, of course, not something that CLG wanted to give away. So, hey, props to Impulse for, a few miscues aside, actually being ahead of CLG in a lane swap game.
Yeah, something that's happened with Team Impulse so far this year is they've actually had pretty strong macro play, which has been miraculous considering how much their roster has been in flux.
Yeah.
Even the games where they had Seraph, it seemed like they were really sharp on things. Feng, though, is in a little bit of trouble. He's got a long ways to run.
He's got a team coming around. Here's the teleport in as well, which means Darshan has to tackle a minion to run away, but Pirean is in range with some spells. Gate's coming, but so is Huhi, and there's the stun onto the mid laner. Xmithie around the wing, so is Stixxay as well. The burst comes across, and a big package comes across, splits the team, and that means Pirean goes down. Stixxay gets the first kill of the game for Counter Logic Gaming. Impulse forced to run. Beautiful stun by Darshan, gets another kill, and in fact, off the screen, someone else dropped, making this 3 for 0, make that 4 for 0. CLG capitalizing like the first big characters their name.
Wow, you have to respect the package on Corki.
Yeah.
He will wreck you in a team fight. It's only up for a minute, but at that moment, even though Team Impulse could have cut their losses, as soon as the teleport started channeling from Pirean, Darshan turned back. So very easily the teleport stopped Feng from dying. They could have disengaged, but instead Team Impulse reach a little bit further. CLG make the strong collapse with Huhi from the flank and a nice heal from Xmithie when Huhi took aggro, and they clean up 4 kills.
And it was all off of the teleport coming in behind Darshan. You would have thought it'd be TIP's favor.
Yeah, well the thing is, Pirean didn't want to go in the first place because he knew there were so many people missing, but then he goes really hard on a Huhi, and they don't actually have the damage here. Mash is still off in the river. yet the package is there for Stixxay, so it is a 5v4 for most of this. Now Mash arrives on the backside, but it's too late because Pirean has already fallen. Darshan gets the smack into the wall for the next kill, and yeah, they are able to kill Feng anyways. The very person they were trying to save at the start of the fight falls, and CLG gets a big jump back in the game.
Mash never even got to auto-attack in that team fight, and it's not his fault. He just wasn't in range when the team came in anyway, so very rough stuff. 4 kills given a counter-launch gaming puts that blue team right back in the lead here. Xmithie will grab that blue buff just barely in front of the Duskbringer. Now Aphromoo really chasing in towards Mash and Gate. They get the stun into Alistar, only level 4. That is a squishy cow. Huhi goes in, oh my word, he one-shot Mash!
Well, it's a level 7 AD carry. Huhi is at one of his most powerful points. He picked up 2 kills in the past fight, finished his Abyssal Scepter, so he has the magic penetration on Mash, and Mash was not expecting that level of burst. He just doesn't have enough health. He didn't even use heal.
No heal, no flash user. There's the dive right back in, but 2 kills could be coming through very shortly. Aphromoo dangerously low, but they can't get the damage through. Ooh. And from downtown, Xmithie takes him out 6-1 now. CLG continue to get picks.
Yeah, as soon as they kill one person, the Nidalee Corki set up shop outside of a turret, and there's been no time for Team Impulse to build any type of magic resistance, so these pushes are going to continue to hurt. And magic resistance isn't that nice of a build early. You can pick up Hex Drinkers and Maws later on the Gangplank and the Nocturne and the Lucian, but you don't actually want those as your first or second items.
Yeah, really unfortunate stuff. Looking at Mash's runes real quick, because I'm interested. He only has 7 MR from glyphs. He actually cut quite a few of them for attack speed or mana regen, and when you see a comp like this, you gotta just make that switch to go over to the 12.
Yeah. You get 20 rune pages sometimes.
Most AD carries use 51.
We should hope so. Anyway, they try to go hard onto Stixxay right here, and the initiation is pretty clean, but once again, they're fighting without their AD carry. Imagine what a Lucian could have done to that. Maybe they kill Stixxay and Aphromoo, but instead, Nidalee Spear, Missile Barrage, Gate goes down on the follow.
Yep.
Caster Curse, man. I said Team Impulse has had miraculously good macro play, and they fight 2 4v5s back-to-back to go down 6 kills to 1.
Very rough. Impulse now to make up a large deficit here, down almost 3,000 gold out of basically nowhere. Huhi looking for the fight onto Pirean. Can't get the kill. Both disengaged, taking some damage back and forth, but TIP looking for a Rift Herald bait. And Feng takes a Javelin, which reveals him thanks to the hunt, and they've got to walk away.
Yeah, and I mean, they had pink ward control, but they didn't sweep forward, so that was kind of a misinformed bait to begin with, but CLG is looking much cleaner than they were against TSM. They do seem like they're kind of back in form, even with these different picks. Darshan is able to make good split pushing pressure without being on a carry. He's on a champion who can operate on much lower levels of farm. Meanwhile, this is the most farm I've seen Xmithie have at 13 minutes probably all year.
Yeah.
As far as gold goes, and he's adapting to this faster farming Nidalee, which is required against a Nocturne. You know, Nocturne kind of needs to fast farm, so the easiest way for Nidalee to beat is just like, well, I'm going to farm faster because my champion's better.
Yeah.
And then also get the ganks off before you can ultimate. So really nice play by CLG thus far.
And thanks to that gold just ballooning up for CLG, Impulse have a long time to go until the builds can really come online. Nocturne has not yet finished the Warrior Enchant. We'll see if he goes for Youmuu's or Duskblade next year, but certainly has a lot of time to go until that Nocturne can one-shot people. You're seeing that the gold inflating CLG's coffers and the XP they're getting from all these fights is kind of getting them out of reach of getting one-shot. You saw a couple of close fights, but Impulse couldn't quite close them here. And now 5,000 gold up. CLG knocked down mid lane outer turret as well, and they're just completely taking control of this game. Yeah,
and CLG is making mid-game movements in what still kind of feels like the early game for Team Impulse, which is hugely in their benefit. CLG has the power now, and they're pushing it exceedingly well. Team Impulse needed this to happen 10 minutes later, where they could have Hex Drinkers on Mash and Procxin, because now one spear hits you at half health, or you're too close to LeBlanc, and it's all of your health.
And Mash's even missing the 350 gold he'd get from getting all of his cold farm. We're 50 minutes in, he still doesn't have 100 CS. He's 50 behind Stixxay thanks to how bad some of these lanes and fights have been. And these are all things like Bash would have counted on that money for a mid-game build to work.
Pirean is trying for it, though. Down 5,000 gold, they're going for a fight.
And he goes for Stixxay, who jumps right over the wall, but Procxin gets him for the stun anyway. And there's how the die is supposed to work for Impulse. Now, can they stay in this fight, or do they have to run? Xmithie goes back in, a tackle comes through, and that's going to be a hit onto Mash. This Lucian is low, a huge knockup, but here's the follow-through. Stixxay goes in, he picks up one, and a couple of kills still come back as Procxin has picked off the support in the backside, but Huhi gets another kill for himself, a 2 for 2, but here comes another tackle. Is that going to be a third for CLG? Feng flashes, takes the javelin, Xmithie takes him down, and a 4th kill yet again. CLG crushing another team fight.
Yeah, Team Impulse, they really wanted the force because they were getting poked down. I actually do not fault the call here from Team Impulse. They needed to do this because CLG was poking them down so hard, and Team Impulse had a numbers advantage at the beginning of the fight. As far as the mid-fight execution, we're going to be able to see it again very shortly, but that's a 5,000 gold lead they are fighting against. It is not easy to win against that type of lead.
So good on CLG to turn that right back around, even after the first pick, to know that they would win the ensuing 4v5, and they are correct in doing that. Counterlogic Gaming pushing their lead now to 7,000, and every single time we look up, that number just keeps growing.
Yeah, and Huhi's going to be at the point where he can press Q and R on you and you're going to die.
Yeah.
So that is not going to be something Team Impulse recovers from easily. Xmithie's still just power farming up.
Level 11?
Sold the Dragon. Level 11 in 60 minutes. New record for Xmithie.
Yeah.
That's just 2 level 11 in a game.
He is tied for highest level in the game. No one on Impulse has 11 yet. Only Huhi on CLG has that.
Yeah, watching this again, the flank teleport from LIssandra is good, and the Gangplank just takes another one to be in the fight. I actually would have liked Gangplank to be in where Pirean was as well, but that couldn't happen. They do blow up Stixxay right away, and you can see Darshan is slow on the teleport to get into the fight. But when he does arrive, they still have these huge itemization advantages. Crazy good knockup from Xmithie's Poppy, only for 1 second, not 1.5, thanks to the nerfs in patch 6.3, but it's enough to buy time for Huhi and Xmithie to cycle their cooldowns. They still have flashes to get over the wall. Pirean is the only reason this wasn't an ace, because he slips out with a sliver of health, and then Huhi gets distortion back for the final kill. LeBlanc and Nidalee are so strong in this stage of the game.
Yep, and they just kept chasing these kills down. We actually saw that Huhi went for second Adam Frostqueen's Flame, finished the Abyssal, went right into that. And yeah, just extra chasing tools. CLG can keep fighting whenever they want. Whether it's a Darshan TP or just the team going in off a couple of slows, barrel chain through some of the minions, and there's the ulti to do the rest of the work. Impulse will keep their mid lane tier 2 alive for now. But this game is quickly flying out of reach.
It really is, and Feng doesn't have the type of farm Balls had last game on Gangplank, so when he lands a barrel chain and pops an ultimate down near the turret, it's just a slight inconvenience for CLG rather than a game-changing fight, at least at this point. Xmithie can just throw a heal in on Nidalee and continue that. So,
there it is. Mid lane tier 2 is down. Gold is now up to 8,000 gold at 18 minutes. This is definitely a large lead. This would be a hard comeback for Impulse if they wanted to get back in on this one. This is CLG well in control, taking the wards away in the jungle. Pink wards are gone, green wards are gone, blue wards are gone, and there is maybe literally 2 wards of the map for Impulse right now.
Yeah, this is actually a gargantuan early game lead right now. Back when Dragon used to give gold, you would rarely see 8 to 10,000 gold leads before 20 minutes.
Yeah. These are the gold leads that you usually surrender in solo queue.
Oftentimes, yeah. 9,000.
I mean, it's normally not off the 6 turrets to 3. It's normally like off, 14 kills to 1 or something.
Let's correct that, Phreak. That's the game where someone wants to surrender.
Yeah.
And then the other team's like, yo, we got this. And
yeah,
then like
true.
20% of the time, because of solo queue, you actually do got this.
No, that's true. We'll see that goes in. Oh, a lot of damage, and Gate late to the pulverize, actually. Didn't see it coming. He could have interrupted Huhi theoretically, but he already got all of his damage out on the LeBlanc. Turret still taking damage slowly but surely. This is, of course, Dragon 2 on for Counterlogic Gaming, so those little hits by Stixxay and Darshan will trigger that magic damage dot and wear the turret down. Xmithie once again solos a epic jungle camp. He got Dragon not long ago. You can see how nimble Rift Herald is. Never let Xmithie get behind him.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, can't do it.
Unless you are Elise to trick.
Yeah, look at that Spiderling.
Yeah, you can't do it. Either way, that's actually pretty good solo.
Yeah.
Rift Herald is kind of designed so you can't solo it.
Yep.
At least easily. But Xmithie makes it look as easy as he could for one person who goes to half health, and then because he's Nidalee, gets to heal himself back up.
And hey, to his credit, for a time where we're saying, Xmithie needs to play Cinderhulk junglers, play all the Gragas's, play all the Rek'Sais. First pick Nidalee, 9 out of 10 kill participation, almost double the CS of this Nocturne jungle. I mean, this is having a great game.
It's a new day for Xmithie.
Yep.
Does whatever he wants.
Yep.
Procxin is not happy.
He's not, but he's trying to build up towards Maw of the Mortius second item. Weirdly, she didn't finish Hexbreaker first with how magic damage heavy that team is, but we are at least seeing those champions go for those types of builds. Gate is the one who has to go for the Aegis, which makes sense when Procxin needs to go for more selfish items here, and of course that was an Abyssal Rush from Pirean. So the itemization is coming through, but the problem is they're so far down in gold, they're just down an item per person here. Void Staff done before any major MR purchases, so Huhi's going to cut through those items when they do come through. Life is definitely difficult for the Team Impulse players here.
To touch back on our conversation from the start of the game as well, Aphromoo with Strength of Ages has 210 extra health from that, which on a level 7 champion is like 2.5 levels worth of health.
Yeah.
Very valuable, more so than a Bond of Stone would be for him at the moment.
Yeah.
As far as amount of damage he can take.
Absolutely. It's giving him more than 10 to 12% bonus health roughly because of that, which, as you said, is way more than the 4% damage reduction of Bond of Stone. So, yeah, it is tanky for him. He just can't absorb damage from Stixxay, but that does not seem to matter as Stixxay has only died once, and CLG are winning by quite a bit here. And CLG now to keep pushing forward. 21-minute Barons can always be difficult. Corki, one of the lower DPS AD carries, so sometimes trying to burn down a Baron is risky. Of course, Nidalee can help with that, and Gate once again spotted inside the jungle, will get stunned up, and no one wants to jump in onto an Alistar. There's the headbutt Plumber to set up his team, but guess what? Stixxay's right behind him. Gate just wasting the cooldown, has to burn the ulti, but now the pounce comes in, down to 100 HP. One more rocket will do it. Whoa. Nice blocks by Procxin to keep the team alive, but Gate has to walk away with no spells.
And that means we might be able to see the Baron started, so we're saying 22 minutes into the game, still very risky. Huhi is actually burning all his cooldowns just to burst the Baron. Yeah, I think they have it completely safely. They even throw out the Frost Queen's claim. The Gangplank ultimate will be the one scary thing. I've seen many Gangplank ultimates steal Baron.
They're letting it time out.
They're waiting out the time of it. Now, Procxin could even be in range, but yeah, there's no wards inside the pit, so.
Well done by Xmithie. Smite and takedown gets it picked off, and he's going to be just fine. 10-3 in kills, both dragons. The only Baron in this game as well, and now an 11,000 gold lead as CLG continue to absolutely crush the mid game.
Yep, and I'm thinking the way that CLG will push this is they'll probably have Darshan getting some super minions up on one side. Actually a little surprised that Aphromoo just didn't go for a Banner of Command super early right here.
Yeah.
But against a Gangplank, you're not going to get the same type of power push as you would against like a double AP top lane. So you can understand why he'd go for the early wards and the boot enchant upgrade. Sudi's taking this slow. They'll probably just push up. And when Tip is trying to defend, I'm just waiting for Huhi to chunk someone out before we see a turtle.
Yep. We may see that very, very shortly. CLG playing by the numbers. Dragon number 3 taken down without much contest. It's so funny because it never looks like they're being hyper-aggressive. Right? We're not seeing these protracted sieges or hardcore dives, but they've still managed to balloon a gigantic gold lead, continue their impeccable dragon control as well. Just everything is going to them all the time. CLG not letting anything sit on the map. And now we can see when that push finally does come through. They have the Baron buff. They have the ability to push. They have some decent poke with the LeBlanc, Nidalee, and Corki. And here comes the time where CLG probably looks for inhibitor turrets themselves.
Yep. And even though it's slightly different CLG with different champions and Xmithie on a farm jungle, they still gained their advantage from a lane swap decision that the other team made wrong, and CLG punished very hard. And then they were able to find multiple team fights throughout the game where they either had a giant gold lead beforehand or a numbers advantage beforehand. And both worked out very well for them.
Good to CLG playing the open map well. Pirean ult comes in a little bit too late to lock Huhi in under the turret, but that means LIssandra has to run away from that poke from Huhi. Procxin puts the shield up, doesn't get anything with it, and that means mid lane inhibitor turret is down. Huhi gets the top lane inhib turret as well with a 1-4 split push, and now both inhibs being attacked. No defense from Impulse at all. The call is, guys, let's wait. We'll just defend on Nexus turrets or maybe this bottom inhib right here, but they're giving these inhibs away.
They don't have many options. Down 13,000 gold. Pirean blew his ult defensively. Procxin used his ult to try and stop Baron, so they actually didn't have initiation tools, even if they wanted to stop the 1-3-1. CLG doing the 1-3-1 properly, and they're actually getting 3 inhibitors clean.
There is still no fight in Impulse. They only try to go now after the turret's already gone. A bit of a late call, but they wanted to keep that third inhibitor alive as their ultimates were coming back up from cooldowns. However, it doesn't matter. There is the third inhibitor kill. All 3 down already before 25 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't show on the 5,000 gold from this active Baron power play, but this is one of the best things you're ever going to get. They crack all 3 inhibitors during the duration of their first Baron of the game. And they're looking to end on this push without without actually killing Impulse. Here's the fight.
Flash in from Gate, and they do pick off Huhi. Finally, a 1-kill pickup, but CLG can now ride Super Minions and the Baron buff in. Nexus turret number 1 is down. Nexus turret number 2 is down as well. 4 versus 5 inside Impulse's base, and Nexus is taking damage. It will be going down shortly. A nice stun combo from Gate, but there's not enough ultis to follow through. Mash goes down. More kills picked up by CLG. Now 12-4 on the scoreboard. Feng and Procxin are next. There's a couple more kills. Xmithie is unstoppable, 5-0-7, and there's the game. Well into 30 minutes. CLG in second place.
And a really clean game from CLG there, Phreak. Also, this is a day of revenge for some social media battered players. We have Xmithie going 5-0-8 on a farm-heavy jungler. We have Balls hard carrying a game with 58,000 damage to champions on Gangplank. It's been a good day for those guys, and this is a really nice way for CLG to bounce back against a team who, you know, they prove here they're much better than.
Yes.
Even though the records were stating otherwise before the match.
Now CLG are the defending North American champions, and again, tied for second as this day starts to wind down is still a pretty good spot for CLG to be. Of course, there's still that Titan of Immortals at the very top that at some point will have to be beaten by somebody. And Adrian did say CLG might be the team that does that at some point down the line, but all these teams fighting for that top 2 spot. CLG are definitely still in the running, even if they had dropped that game to TSM not long ago. They continue to push on. They'll play Renegades tomorrow, which you expect to be a win as well, and then Week 7 is that Immortals match for CLG. If they can tune up in time, that will be quite a showdown.
Yeah, that's going to be an exciting game. Really, anyone who's trying to stop Immortals from their undefeated run is going to be fun. Gotta mention something about this game, though. Xmithie, highest gold in the game, highest damage to champions in the game also.
Nice. Well played, Xmithie, then, yeah. 12,000 damage in a 25-minute game. That's actually pretty high for a jungler. Hitting almost 500 damage per minute is super solid there. So, hey, props to him for a very good game.
Also, just from the damage per minute stats, sometimes there's so many factors that go into it.
Yeah.
The later the game goes, the more damage you're dealing. So if you play a lot of long games, naturally, your damage per minutes can actually be kind of inflated.
Yeah.
So the fact that this was such a short game and he's still at 500 damage per minute really shows he was dishing out the pain.
Constantly hitting the skill shots, constantly getting the pounces in, and he never died doing it. So props to Xmithie for a solid game, but right now, got to send